is the original structure that's still attached to the barn out there.
Yeah, I tried to stay out of there. That's kind of a scary part of the building.
And after the bat story, yeah.
Even more scary then, yes.
He was out there doing something, came back in, and Marie Starries, who is our receptionist and traffic manager, saw something fly past Randy. So she's under her desk, from what I understand, and Randy is chasing a bat through the barn with a binder, trying to not hurt it, but to hurt it out of the barn. And finally, the bat was cornered into the conference room and taken care of.
We did have a bird fly in one time. There were times when some of the staff liked to leave the door open to enjoy the nice weather outside, and a bird flew in, and it took a while to get the bird to fly back out. That was kind of a fun afternoon, I recall one time. Shortly before I left, the power in the building just suddenly went off. We heard a pop from outside, and boom, everything was gone. And we went outside and we looked around, and there's a big transformer hanging from the pole out here, and I could see a big tail hanging down from that, and it was moving, but it was because the wind was blowing it. Might have been our squirrel that used to be in the building had climbed up there and got the shock of its life, and it also knocked out the power. So we had to call the power company. About an hour later, they got us back on the air after removing the varmint from the top of the pole. So we've had some wildlife experiences out here, no doubt, over the years. I'm sure there's plenty of others that I don't even know about.
It doesn't just look like a barn at times. At times, it very well could be.
That was Larry, and this WHOW 75th anniversary feature.
News time is 10 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Friday morning. Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded local newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. A DeWitt County entity surveyed the community last year, and the findings from that survey are now available, and plans to engage the community on the findings are also set. The DeWitt County Mental Health Board's Sharon Mills on the WHOW Morning Show Thursday told Regional Radio the assessment was completed with the help of a couple of local groups and engaged a large spectrum of community stakeholders.
We had several activities through the assessment that we are doing, and we did work with a number of different organizations who helped to develop the assessment approach and to implement it. But we had key informant interviews with primarily some community leaders and a community survey that we put out throughout the county to try to get everyone's involvement in sharing both their experiences, if they have them, and even if not, what they see as being issues in DeWitt County. We also did a survey with providers themselves to find out what it is they're seeing, what trends they're seeing in the community, and what issues they may be experiencing and trying to address needs. And then we also looked at public data that already exists relating to DeWitt County.
According to Mills, the youth and mental health decline is what was most noticeable in the report. She explains while adults are also a part of the trend, she feels COVID was detrimental to the mental health decline and increase in suicidal ideation.
We really took all of our data, our activities for collecting data, and tried to come up with a picture from each of them. So didn't necessarily report, and we do have a report, but didn't necessarily report per individual survey or topical area. But certainly one of the things that we talk about in the report are concerns for youth mental health and substance use. Some of that data comes through the Illinois Youth Survey, as well as experiences that providers are having or things that they were seeing. Well, in terms of youth, youth and adults, certainly concerns with suicide and suicide attempts in the county. But with youth themselves, really the increases in experiencing symptoms that may be likened to depression or anxiety, in large part, stemming from COVID or during COVID-19, which we aren't past yet, but, and that I guess goes for adults as well.
Katie Arnold with the Mental Health Board indicates starting later this month, there are going to be numerous community engagement opportunities. She explains they hope to highlight the findings of the report and highlight the services available in DeWitt County.
Yeah, so we have some presentations that are already on the schedule that we encourage people to attend on March 21st from 4:30 to 5:30 in Farmer City at the public library there. We'll include a presentation and some discussion, and then be able to meet some of the providers, particularly who serve in that area of that community in the county. And then April 4th, we'll be at Clinton in Clinton at the Warner Library in the Revere Room. And again, we're going to do a presentation, offer some discussion, and have a resource fair for some of those particular providers that are available in our community. And then we do have presentations planned later in April for Weldon Public Library as well as Waynesville. And just really want to get the information out, not just about the survey, but just again, reiterating to individuals in the community and county what we have to offer as far as a mental health board, the providers that are available to them, and how to access some of those resources.
Mills says the Mental Health Board will begin a strategic planning process soon after the community engagement wraps up to come up with plans based on the results of the survey. She reminds the Mental Health Board supports nonprofits like Heritage Behavioral Health Center, the Clinton YMCA, Encore Developmental Services, the Children's Advocacy Center, and many more. Learn more about the DeWitt County Mental Health Board and find the results of the survey by visiting DeWittCountyMHB.com. The next several years will have a lot of transition for Clinton schools. The current school year is longtime principal Beth Wickenhauser's final year as principal of Lincoln and Douglas schools. Next year is Superintendent Kurt Nettles' final year, and soon thereafter, high school administrators Jerry Wayne and Bob Svensner retire. Nettles is confident the incoming administrators will do a great job.
Well, it's hard. I mean, I just speaking for myself, I'm 90% excited about being to that retirement point after next year, but there's 10% of me that's, a little bit have some anxiety over it. And I would assume the others are the same way. When you're 4 years out, like Jerry and Bob are, you think, oh, I'm excited that I'll be able to do that. But when the time comes, I'm 1 year out now, I'm like, this feels a little different than it did 4 years ago. But I believe that we have built an administrative team in working with this board that we have to sustain those changes. Mr. Goebel will do a really good job leading the district. He makes sound decisions, and we always talk through what's the process going to be. If there's a change that's going to have to happen, what's the process going to be? So Mrs. Wickenhauser retiring, I thought long and hard, what's the process of replacing her, and how do we go about finding that person? And we put Jessica Patrick through quite the ringer and made her earn that. And there was a lot of interviewing and a lot of teacher input and a lot of meetings and things like that. And so if you take your time and go through processes and you replace the team a little bit at a time as those retirements come up or people change locations or something of that nature, then you can sustain it.
According to Nettles, Jessica Patrick, who will be the new principal for Lincoln and Douglas schools, was a finalist for the junior high school assistant principal job, but did not get that position. However, she still chose to be a part of the district as a fifth grade teacher at Clinton Elementary School.
I will tell you that she was a finalist for that job. We obviously hired Stacy Witz for that position, but we were torn over that. And I came this close to asking the board if I could hire both of them, knowing that Mrs. Wickenhauser was going to be retiring. I didn't do that, and I decided I'm just going to wait and see how this plays out, and was encouraged to know that Jessica really wanted to be with our district. She actually moved to our district and has been teaching in our district this year at the fifth grade level. And when the time came to post Mrs. Wickenhauser's position, she applied, and she went through, and she really earned this designation. So I think that made her stronger, and it actually made us stronger because we know for sure that we did it right. I think our district has a good fit for a lot of people. I think a lot of us could work somewhere else, and some of us have worked other places and done okay. Clinton's got a good feel to it, and maybe Clinton's not for everybody, or not everybody's for Clinton, but I think we've got people who fit in well.
One of the bigger changes for the Clinton schools will be a transition of leadership at the top of the district in the superintendent's chair. Assistant Superintendent Drew Goebel will transition to the role of superintendent, and Nettles indicates it has been a learning process that has been ongoing for a few years now.
And Drew's been in the district office for 5 years now. So the first couple of years of that, he was, his title was business manager, director of business services, and those things. And I thought at the time, well, he's going to be a superintendent someday. Where is that going to be? I don't know. But after a year or two working with him in there, and he learned the business side of everything so quickly, I said, well, my goal is to help you be a superintendent someday, whether that's here or somewhere else. So you go another year. And I think the board started to recognize his leadership and his ability and the skills that he's acquired. And so I wanted to have a conversation with the board in the fall. My whole thing was, I'm not picking who succeeds me. That's not my job. But I started back in September with the board, and I said, yeah, I know I've got this year and next year, but I said, you really need to be thinking about the process. So we started having conversation even back as far as September. And so we've had monthly conversations about it. They got a little more intensified. And so they were finally resolved to the point that they wanted to keep the things going that we have going. And so retaining the culture that we have and the momentum we have, rather than going out for a statewide search, was their decision.
Nettles is confident Goebel will bring the values and leadership that reflect those of the community as school districts face increased pressure to cave to progressive and aggressive curricula. Nettles is confident Goebel and the board will represent the community well in those battles.
He has been in this community a long time. A lot longer than I have. And he knows the community. He knows what the community's values are for the most part. I'm not saying everybody in the community has 100% same values. We know that's not true, or the same opinions, but you get an overall feel of what the community is and what their values are. The board members that are elected represent those values, basically. And so Drew understands those things. And I think he will work with the board on understanding what the community really wants in their school system. I know the State Board of Education has their accountability measures and procedures and designations and things that they put out. But you know what? We do answer to the state board in some ways, but you answer to this community mostly. And so the board members with Drew's leadership will have to understand that and work accordingly.
Nettles indicates one of the toughest parts about being a superintendent is learning what you don't know. He refers to the Mike Tyson quote, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." He feels experience will be the biggest benefit for Goebel when he assumes the reins of the district next year. News time is 21 minutes after the hour here on this Friday morning, and there's plenty more to get to coming your way next on the morning show.
At Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Baum Motor Company in Farmer City, our job is to help you and solve your transportation needs. This is Scott Baum, both in Clinton or Farmer City. We'll listen and find options for a different vehicle, or we'll give you repair options to keep that car, truck, or SUV safe and trouble-free so you can continue with your busy schedule. If it has to do with transportation, we're here to help. Visit our full-service team today in Clinton or Farmer City. Baum Chevrolet Buick, right from the start.
News time is 22 minutes after the hour on this Friday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Efforts are underway to help improve literacy and add classes to Illinois public schools. There's a big push in the legislature this year to boost the reading and writing skills of school children. One bill from Representative Mary Flowers of Chicago gets back to the basics by requiring schools to use phonics to teach reading.
If young people were to learn the sounds, they could sit and read by themselves because they could blend the sounds together. That's the reason why literacy and phonics goes hand in hand.
Representative Amy Ellick of Alton is supporting legislation that requires phonics to be taught to kids.
In education, when you look back over a number of decades, there's things that work and then suddenly they change. And I think there's always these new methods of instruction out there. And while they're usually worth trying, we also need to know when it's time to go back to what was working before.
There's also a proposal requiring high school juniors and seniors to take a course on personal finance. Another bill mandates a course on recognizing the signs of anxiety, depression, and other mental illness. House lawmakers are working on a bill that would require full-day kindergarten. Currently, districts can offer full-day or half-day kindergarten, but this legislation mandates the full school day option. It's sponsored by Representative Mary Beth Canty of Arlington Heights, who says this will help boost academic performance and strengthen social-emotional skills.
Research from the National Education Association suggests that full-day kindergarten can produce long-term educational gains, especially for low-income, minority, and multilingual students.
But there are concerns about costs if no money is available to help implement the change, says Allison Maley with the Illinois Principals Association.
The bottom line is we don't have a guarantee, and that is a really risky position for us to be in, to then say a year from now, regardless of whether the money shows up, this is what you're required to do.
Canty says the bill is a work in progress. She plans to address concerns about costs by phasing in the change over 4 years. Women can learn more about their reproductive health rights in a new guide from Illinois Attorney General Kwame Rowell and the State Department of Human Rights. Now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned and other states are enacting various reproductive laws, the state of Illinois wants to make sure women know their rights when it comes to pregnancy, childbirth, and abortion. Human Rights Director Jim Bennett.
What we hope is that the guide will help women exercise their rights, but also help employers and people providing housing, healthcare practitioners, and anyone that wants to do the right thing, just avoid discriminatory practices and understand how it works.
Now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned and other states are enacting various reproductive laws, the state wants to make sure women know their rights when it comes to pregnancy, childbirth, and abortion.
So in issues in housing, for example, where someone would say that they're not going to rent to someone because they're pregnant or because they believe they've had an abortion, that's not legal.
The guide offers examples of discrimination in a variety of settings. You can find it online at dhr.illinois.gov under publications. Illinois Comptroller Susanna Mendoza says the state's rainy day fund is getting another boost. The stash is vital in times of emergency, and just receiving a deposit of $320 million. That brings the long neglected fund up to more than $751 million, which is an improvement, says Comptroller Mendoza.
If we had a rainy day reserve like the one we're trying to get now in place when COVID hit, we would not have had to go to the Federal Reserve to borrow funds to get through that month of April.
Mendoza says ultimately she would like to see the rainy day fund be 7.5% of the state's current budget. That would be about $3.25 billion.
Even during times of high inflation, I would argue that we can do it. We just did it this year. We had the highest inflation we've seen in a long time, but it did not impact our ability to put revenues aside.
Mendoza adds the state's recently improved credit ratings are due in part to efforts to shore up the rainy day fund. The Biden administration is striking down a Chinese-owned social media application. Last week, the White House directed federal agencies they have 30 days to remove TikTok from government-issued devices. Central Illinois Congressman Darren LaHood thinks the Chinese-owned app threatens democracy.
I do. First of all, let's remember, TikTok is owned by ByteDance. ByteDance is owned by the Chinese company that's a state-owned enterprise, owned by the state. They have, as part of the provisions of that ownership, that the Chinese Communist Party at any time can look at what is in their cloud, who are their customers, what is their background. That's a direct link, a direct nexus to the Communist Chinese Party. It's a backdoor for them to have all the information on our children, on any adult that uses TikTok.
According to the Biden administration, government contractors have 90 days to delete the app from government-issued devices. New consumer polls are showing increasing concerns about rising food prices. Gary Crawford has this report. News time is 29 minutes after the hour here on this Friday. Coverage of news brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and the morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Coming up on 7:30 on this Friday, network news on the way, a look at local sports. The high school boys basketball postseason rolls on tonight. We've got a preview of those sectional championship matchups in high school basketball. Also a look at the Farm Gate with Stu Ellis, and we get a look at the morning markets. All that and more next.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason. A now disbarred attorney from a prominent South Carolina family scheduled for sentencing today after being convicted of killing his wife and youngest son. Alex Murdaugh faces 30 years to life in prison on each of the 2 counts of murder. Ailing residents of East Palestine, Ohio, say Norfolk Southern should have to buy their homes so they can move away from the scene of last month's toxic train wreck. Buildings are damaged. Power is out across North Texas this morning following severe weather, including suspected tornadoes last night. Shreveport, Louisiana, was also pounded by powerful storms, and the threat is not over today for parts of Arkansas, western Mississippi, and northern Louisiana. A shingles diagnosis has landed Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein in California in the hospital in San Francisco. More details, srnnews.com.
With SRN Sports, I'm Michael Harrington. We're going to start with NBA action from Thursday, and the Mavericks, their starting guards combined for 82 points in a 133-126 win over the 76ers.
Luka Doncic scored 42 points. Kyrie Irving had 40. The Mavericks connected on 25 three-pointers, tying a franchise record. The 76ers were led by Joel Embiid, who had 35 points. Tyrese Maxey added 29, while James Harden had 27.
Correspondent Bob Stevens reporting. Elsewhere yesterday, it was the Wizards over Toronto, 119-108. Spurs 110, Indiana 99. And Golden State got the better of the LA Clippers, 115-91, the final there. LeBron James is expected to miss most of March with an injured tendon in his right foot. If that timetable holds, the Lakers will have to find a way to stay in the playoff race without the league's all-time scoring leader. Lakers aren't saying much more about the injury. This is SRN Sports. Lots of action in the National Hockey League yesterday. The Predators edged Florida 2-1. It was the Senators over the Rangers 5-3. Bruins 7, Sabres 1. Seattle needed the extra pair to get by Detroit 5-4. Same score, Pittsburgh over Tampa Bay in OT. Dallas 5, Blackhawks 2. The Maple Leafs got the better of the Flames 2-1, while Minnesota got by Vancouver 2-1. Blues 6, Sharks 3. Kings over Montreal 3-2. Two-time Stanley Cup winning goaltender Jonathan Quick has been traded for a second time in under 48 hours. Vegas acquired Quick from Columbus for a 7th-round pick in the 2025 draft, and journeyman goalie Michael Hutchinson. Quick was traded from the Kings to the Blue Jackets earlier this week. The move solves the Golden Knights' latest problem in goal, with all-star starter Logan Thompson out with an injury. AP Top 25 College Hoop yesterday, number 1 Houston over Wichita State, 83-66. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. The high school boys basketball postseason rolls on tonight with sectional championships as teams make another step to the State Farm Center in Champaign for the state finals next weekend. In Class 1A sectional championship action tonight from Altamont, the hosts will battle Tuscola. Tonight from the Hayworth sectional, Lexington takes on Bloomington Cornerstone Christian Academy. Class 2A sectional championship action tonight from Herscher. It'll be Pontiac and Prairie Central. Tonight from Pleasant Plains, Normal U High battles Bloomington Central Catholic. And in Class 3A sectional championship action tonight from Decatur MacArthur. MacArthur battles Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin. And tonight in Galesburg, it's Peoria Richwoods and Metamora. Matthew Mayer scored 24 points. Terrence Shannon Jr. added 21 as Illinois held off Michigan 91-87 in double overtime Thursday night. Mayer opened the second overtime with a three-pointer and a layup, and the Fighting Illini never trailed again, going to 20-10 overall and 11-8 in the Big Ten Conference. Mayer shot 8 of 20 with 4 threes and grabbed 7 boards. Shannon made just 4 of 14 shots, missing all 5 of his three-point attempts, but went 13 of 16 at the foul line, including 3 of 4 in the final 10 seconds to preserve the win. He also snagged 7 boards and had 4 assists. Ty Rogers pitched in with 14 points with 7 rebounds off the bench. R.J. Melendez had 10 of his 12 in the second half. Hunter Dickinson finished with 31 points and a career-high 16 rebounds to lead the 17-13 Wolverines, who dropped to 11-8 in the Big Ten. The 7'1" junior has 12 double-doubles this season. Kobe Buffkin had 23 points and 6 rebounds. Jet Howard, the son of Michigan coach Jawan Howard, had 15 points and 5 rebounds, but fouled out. Michigan scored the first 6 points of the game and held the lead until a Dane Danger layup and a dunk by Sincere Harris put Illinois up 29-27 with 2:12 to play. In the second half, Rogers' dunk with 15 seconds remaining gave the Fighting Illini a 33-31 advantage at the break. Illinois built a 9-point lead 3 times in the first 9:30 of the second half, but Michigan used a 7-0 run capped by Howard's 3 with 47 seconds left to tie the game at 70 and force overtime. Illinois scored the final 7 points of the extra 5-minute period. 5 were from Shannon to force a second overtime, tied at 81. Mayer grabbed a rebound and hit a 3 following a missed three-pointer from Buffkin with a layup, and Illinois took an 86-81 lead with 3:43 left and never trailed again. The Fighting Illini shot 42% overall, but just 28% from distance, shooting 26 of 34 from the foul line, while Michigan State made 44% of its shots, shooting 38% from distance, and hit 17 of 24 free throw attempts. The Fighting Illini end the regular season visiting 5th-ranked Purdue on Sunday. Bowen Bourne had 23 points in Northern Iowa's 75-62 victory over Illinois State Thursday in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Championship. Bourne also had 5 assists for the Panthers, who fall to 14-17. Michael Doe scored 19 with 5 rebounds and 3 steals. Titan Anderson finished with 16 points. The Redbirds were led by Seneca Knight, who posted 19 points and 2 steals. Kendall Lewis scored 18 points with 10 rebounds, dished out 4 assists, had 2 steals and 2 blocks for ISU. Darius Burford had 14 points. The loss was the Redbirds' 7th in a row as Illinois State ends the regular season 11-21. Overall, their season is likely done. Pavel Buchnevich had 4 assists. Jordan Kyrou had a goal and an assist as the Blues beat the Sharks 6-3 Thursday night. Logan Brown, Colton Parayko, Braden Shen, Kasperi Kapanen, and Tyler Pitlick scored for the Blues, who had a 4-goal second period. Thomas Grease made 22 saves in his 6th win of the season. Alexander Brabarov had a goal and an assist for San Jose. Logan Coder and Steven Lorentz also scored. James Reamer made 17 saves but suffered his 16th loss of the season. The Sharks got off to a hot start just 3:50 into the game. Barbanov tucked his 12th goal of the season after Andreas Johnson gave him an alley-oop pass. The assist by Johnson was his first point since joining San Jose. Coder added to that 2:41 later after Coder blasted a one-timer over Grease's glove for his 21st, but the Blues got it going in the second with 3 goals in the first 9 minutes and 30 seconds. At 2:35, Parayko was left alone in the slot for his 4th goal of the season. Kyrou got his 26th after Buchnevich made a sweet pass from behind the net less than 3 minutes later to tie it at 2. Brown scored his first goal of the season at 9:30 after Buchnevich yet again made a nice pass into the slot. The Blues finished their big second period with a tic-tac-toe play resulting in Schen's 17th of the season that made it 4-2. The Blues visit the Kings on Saturday. Rupin scored 3 times, and Dallas beat Chicago 5-2 Thursday night in the Blackhawks' first home game since the Patrick Kane trade. The 26-year-old has 6 goals in a 4-game streak. He has 29 goals on the season after he scored a career-best 37 last year. Jamie Benn snapped a tie in the third, and Matt Murray made 19 saves in his NHL debut, helping Dallas to its 3rd win in 4 games. The Western Conference leaders also beat Arizona 4-2 Wednesday night. Back at home after Patrick Kane was dealt to the New York Rangers Tuesday, Chicago dropped its 3rd straight game. The Blackhawks did show a Patrick Kane tribute video during the first period, and fans thanked the 3-time Stanley Cup champion with chalk messages in a United Center parking lot. Chicago played without Max Domi, who was scratched for what the team says was a roster management, but the Blackhawks announced after the game the veteran had been traded to the Stars. The Blackhawks trailed 2-1 after the first, but Jones scored 26 seconds into the second on a shot through traffic from outside the right circle. It was the 7th goal of the season for the All-Star. The Stars, though, went ahead to stay when Ben scored his 25th of the season from in close just 45 seconds into the third. He has 6 goals in his last 10 games. Chicago acquired Maxime Galad from Anaheim for Dylan Sakura in a swap of minor league forwards, but they also got forward Anders Bajork from Buffalo in exchange for future considerations. The Blackhawks will host the Predators on Saturday night. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. A wind advisory continues until midnight tonight. A winter weather advisory begins at noon today and continues until 9 p.m. tonight. Overcast today with rain likely early, then changing to snow. High of 39. Northeast winds 30 to 40 miles per hour. Chance of snow tonight 27. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 38.
Hello again, everyone. This is Stu Ellis, swinging open the farm gate for you once again today. Well, the fate of the 2023 Farm Bill will depend upon the Republican and Democratic parties agreeing on just how much to reconcile competing spending for food stamps versus spending for commodity, crop insurance, and conservation programs. Iowa Republican Senator Chuck Grassley says we're not going to have a farm bill if you don't have bipartisan agreement. He said there's quite a fight in the Senate Ag Committee over USDA's huge boost in pandemic spending on SNAP food nutrition programs versus competing with spending on farm bill programs. And he says if we hadn't had this pandemic, we would be spending at the February 2020 level plus population growth, plus inflation, and no more. And that's a heck of a lot less than the doubling of the food stamp program that the Congressional Budget Office said was in their baseline.